Good morning. We've got a great program today. I'm glad you guys are all here. We got a couple things we want to announce. First, next month is Al Betts, who's going to do a program performing under pressure. Anybody got pressure in the room? I'm going to kind of let Tom speak for himself, but many years ago we were looking to kind of relook at how we were doing things in downtown, and somebody had mentioned Tom Fiddler from McKenzie Real Estate, and he came in, brought his staff with him, and just did some amazing things that we had never taken a look at. So it was the outside looking in, and to give him the full time that I think you should listen to him, I'm going to introduce Tom Fiddler.
I raised a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old boy, so I can talk pretty loud, but I'm told that I've got to use this for the camera. So.
Do you have to use this for the
All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to walk over to the middle because many of you have your back to me. So, all right, well, good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I have been blessed with a 25-year career in commercial real estate consulting and business consulting, and I have worked with various main streets throughout the state and throughout the region. And I have been blessed to see some really incredible people, join some new friends and some relationships. But one particular gal, I absolutely, as a role model for inspiration of trying to make change and trying to create value, I refer to her as my Main Street mom. Could you please help me and say thank you to Nancy? She is our Main Street mom, so to speak. So, all right, real quick, full disclosure, those opinions and statements you hear from me are expressly my own. I have to have that disclaimer, not of my company. And for those of you who know me or know about me, I'm pretty direct, okay? Unlike others that are out there that just simply do PowerPoints and give you information, you'll notice I don't really care for that. I want your absolute attention. I want your energy. I want your questions. Feel free to raise it anytime you hear something that you know, kind of like, hey, talk a little bit further about that. Objectives, first and foremost. Little true fact about me. I have made these kind of discussions and presentations in living rooms, schools, state assembly buildings. Never done it in a bowling alley. True fact, and I'll share with you anything you want to know about me. Anybody here old enough to remember the show Pinbusters on WBAL? Yep. You used to go to WBAL on the hill, and they had 2 lanes. And on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., right? Well, I'm going to one-up you, okay? True fact about me, 10 years old, champion 3 times on Pinbusters. All right. Matter of fact, I bowled competitively all the way up until about the age of 17 with my mom. And in fact, if you go to Middlesex bowling lanes down on the east side of Baltimore, I believe I still hold the record. At 10 years old, I bowled a game 176 to win the state championship. So I am in my element here. So for anyone, can we turn a few of these on after we're done? All right, so the agenda for today, very quickly, I want to give you a little bit of background on what's happening in the world of retail real estate. Okay, so that's priority number 1. We can talk about anything. We can talk about malls, we can talk about the internet, okay? But I really want to spend some time on some things that are happening on the consumer side, because that's critical to many of you who own businesses, all right? And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we're seeing throughout the region and the state on the Main Street element, okay? So I know it's respectful of your time. If you need to get up and depart and, you know, tend to your businesses or tend to your families, feel free. You won't offend me. All right, just if you could, there is a 23-page packet that our company provides every quarter, which we call the State of the Economy. It'll talk a little bit about commercial real estate, occupancy rates, vacancy rates, but most importantly, there are 2 pages in there regarding the state of retail real estate, okay? So feel free, my business cards, what have you. All right, so to get started, you watch the news, you read the paper, you see the media. You would think there's this term called retail Armageddon is happening, right? Malls are closing left and right. Shops are closing left and right. The reality is that we're going through a correction. Interesting fact, okay? If you take 4 or 5 of the like-kind countries throughout the world that are comparable to the U.S. economy and GDP, countries such as Brazil, they have a ratio, what we call per capita of retail space, all right? So Brazil has a capita of about 4.6 to 1 person. In Central America, it's about 5 per 1. In Canada, it's about 3.8 square feet per capita. You could go to the European nation, and it's about 7 square feet per person. Anybody want to take a guess at what it is here in the United States? We are almost 4 times. We are nearly 27 square feet per person. All right, we had an explosion in the 80s and 90s following the quote depression in the 87, 88 era, and then again in 93 and 94, we had an explosion of retail real estate. And the irony of this is, in fact, because what I do with a lot of the Main Street associations throughout the state is, if you all recall, in 1994, 1995, we started to see the branding of new shopping centers called Main Street centers, which was the irony of our business. We're out taking down 25, 30 acres of cornfield and rebuilding an open-air shopping center and calling it Main Street. Now, we're going 180 degrees. We have too much space in the market. And that is a culprit of all of us. Because what do we love as Americans? U.S. citizens, we love stuff. Gotta have it. Interesting fact, if you take every 2-car garage in the United States, less than 13% of them can park 2 cars. Okay? What was the fastest growing industry in the last 5 years related to retail real estate? Self-storage facilities. We're so bad, we're willing to pay others to keep our stuff. That's changing, that's evolving. What's one of the most explosive industries over the last 5 years on the consignment side, and also the gifting and value add, the thrift, Goodwill, Salvation Army. So we are tending to get away with our stuff, but we're not there yet, okay? It's important to note that because there's an evolution. And you'll hear me say this from time to time because the stars are aligning for what's happening in our world right now from a retailing perspective. The state of the economy is actually very strong. I mean, subsequent to cap rates and investment rates and interest rates rising ever so slightly in the last 60 to 90 days, you know, my parents, I complained about my 4% mortgage. My parents remind me the day that they bought their first house, it was 21%. Okay? So be careful what you wish for, so to speak. The important thing about the value of what we're seeing in the world of retail real estate is obviously what's driving our economy right now is we are consumers and we are an economy of experience. And this is related simply for the fact of what we're going to be talking about Main Street. Because the malls, by way of example, and I can tell you very candidly, 35 to 40% of the malls in the U.S. will not be here in 5 to 10 years. We are changing the way we shop, and this is not all Amazon or e-commerce, okay? I do not receive a check every year or every month from Amazon, but I'm going to talk a lot about them because they are changing the way we evolve as consumers, and you can't deny it. You got to adapt. The thing about malls is, in fact, is they are the rising cost of our industry. So if I take a Main Street retail business of 1,500, 2,000 square feet, where is she? There she is. As far as like running a florist or a B&B or something along those lines, or a consignment shop, or the Rustic Store by Jordan, you know, their retail rents are typically about 60% of what the malls charge. It's very expensive to operate a mall. You got to heat it, you got to cool it, you got to clean it, and you got to power it. Well, those costs are dramatically increasing. So why you see the vacancy rates in malls is not just a derivative of what's happening with Amazon and e-commerce. It's actually a function of cost. Rents are approaching $35, $40, $45, $50 a square foot in malls. That's not sustainable. Most of the retailers that you'll see, not all, are actually working for the landlord. They're not making a dollar. They're simply just paying the bills and paying the utility bills and their staff. That's changing. What happened in 2007 and 2008? Arguably, the worst depression recession that we've seen in generations, other than the Great Depression. One true thing came out of that. We as consumers said to ourselves, we have to be more loyal to local businesses. And that derivative, that core comment, is what's happening throughout the region. We are all looking for a reason to shop locally. Go back 5 years. What happened on the Saturday after Black Friday? 5 years ago. What was the first commercial you saw that you kind of questioned as to, what's that all about? American Express, shop local, Saturday. Well, now it's evolved, right? The holiday season, which I could talk for hours about. I mean, we actually start setting up for the Christmas season on September 15th. Believe it or not, Home Depot's first shipment of their Christmas trees and lights comes around mid-September. JCPenney's is operationally on the holiday season around October 1st. Take that week of the holiday, Thanksgiving. You have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thanksgiving Thursday. And do we all want to sit here and debate about who should be open on Thanksgiving Day or not? That would be fun. We're the politicians. You can take that up. Shop local Saturday. And now you have the related businesses to Sunday. And then you have Internet Monday, right? Now it's stretched out to Tuesday, stretched out to Wednesday. So we, as consumers, are starting to evolve because we have this drive to support local businesses, and that's a good thing. We're still going to want to go to our TGI Fridays or our Applebee's, right? Got to have riblets. We're still going to shop at the mall. We're just not shopping as frequently. The best example I can give to you about how the industry is evolving is to talk to you a little bit about grocery shopping. So I had dinner last night with Sandy and with Nancy, Sandy from Westminster, and we were talking about this, and I think I kind of floored the both of them. So you're welcome to do the research and validate what I'm saying. So anybody watching what's happening with Amazon in the grocery business? Okay? So don't hold me to it, but hold me to this in about 5 years, because you're going to look back and say, damn, he was pretty spot on. Today you go to the grocery store that's about 55 to 60,000 square feet. Our industry, the International Council of Shopping Centers, is watching us very, very closely because that's a fundamental core thing we all need, right? Food and water. Grocery. We have been programmed the way we were raised by our parents. Every Saturday or Sunday, you go to the grocery store. You fulfill your big order. Well, that little mobile device that all of us own has become the best thing and the worst thing for us, right? Forget the texting while driving, but just the impact to our industry. On a Friday afternoon at 12:30, 1 o'clock, you will get on your device at your lunch table, and you will order by mobile device, by digital commerce, all of your non-perishable product. Toilet paper, paper plates, deodorant, toothpaste. And it will be at your house typically right around 6 p.m. This is where the industry's headed. On the way home, at 5:30, 6 o'clock, you will go to a very small grocery store. It's actually a fulfillment center, that term you've seen out in the paper. And at 5:30, 6 o'clock, you will walk into a store that's a fraction of that of the current grocery store normal, usual and customary size. There are no cashiers. True story. Look it up. In Seattle and Portland, there's actually prototypes right now that Amazon is rolling out. You will walk into the store. It will scan your body. Okay? It's a world of information. There's a lot out there. It's measuring your size because your mobile device, as soon as you go through the store, it will know that Tom just arrived. It will trigger what Tom's buying habits are. And throughout my experience in this small format store, I'm going to buy milk, eggs, deli meats, all my my perishable product, okay, put it in a basket. And every time I pull it off the shelf, it's going to show up on my phone, in my cart. If I put it back, it takes it off my cart. See where I'm heading with this? See the implications of where this industry is headed. Okay, that is extremely radical, but it's where we're headed as an industry. Anybody shop online this past Christmas season? Admit it, we all did it, right? Not only can you shop online and have it shipped to your house, typically either the same day or the day after, but some of these retailers have gotten so sophisticated, they'll wrap it for you for the holidays. Good thing, right guys? Because we're always last minute. Not only are they now collaborating, all right, what happened with Walmart? Walmart is now into the grocery delivery business and the product delivery business. Watch the commercials that are on TV and on the radio. They're actually trying to go head-to-head with Amazon and e-commerce. They see a segment of the market. Here's some interesting stats about the state of retail. What would you guess in the holiday season of 2017 was the average dollars spent on Christmas shopping. Think about your own checkbook. Think about your own credit card. What did you spend? Did you spend more this past holiday season? Well, 93% of Americans said not only did they spend more, but they spent more than they should have. There is this fictitious feeling of wealth that's taken over a lot of the consumerism in America right now. That's not a bad thing if you do it and manage it in proportion. Because one of the most staggering statistics about the holiday season that we've been trending and watching is the amount of American debt. 88 cents of every dollar spent last Christmas season was on credit. Okay, that's a bad calculation. For those of you older in the room, you know where that can head. All right? Most importantly is the younger generation, this group we call millennials, all right, has had an impact on our retail real estate industry as well. Talk a little bit about kind of the related side of retail real estate and spending is on the residential. And for those residential real estate agents in the room, I think you would agree that, it's an interesting time to be in the business. Again, you can borrow money pretty cheaply, 30-year fixed, all that good stuff. Everyone's seen the explosion of apartments in the industry? I mean, just drive through Westminster, drive through Baltimore. I mean, the last time we have an office in downtown on Pratt Street, and I counted about 13 towers, building somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 apartment units in downtown Baltimore. I'm a city boy, born and bred there, okay? Went to city schools. Fortunately, my parents, I was blessed to get out of the city and into Calvert Hall. Baltimore City's average rent for a 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment is approaching nearly $1,700 a month. There is a tower on Light Street that's going to start at $2,500 a month. Now, last time I checked, you can borrow at $1,700 a month, you can buy yourself about a 2,500 square foot home on an acre of property with 1.5 cars and a 2-car garage, okay? The millennial side of things are starting to evolve with what's happening in the industry because there's this feeling of lack of ownership or pride, and it relates directly to retail real estate. The millennial crowd, because if you think about it, there's 3 buckets of people in the industry right now. There's millennials, the younger, call it crazy people, those that take jobs, not careers, those who are going to absolutely support your industry. Because what we do, we have two faults. We love alcohol and we love food. The middle bucket, kind of middle America, right? The actual family with 2.4 persons. And then you have this empty nester bucket. And we'll talk a lot about them because they are the unsung hero of our industry for the coming 5 to 10 years. And they are the untapped marketplace for Main Streets. Residential real estate right now with the millennial crowd it's almost become like a nuisance to own a home. It's easier, I kid you not, it's easier to rent an apartment and pay this and build no appreciation of asset base. And the owners in the room, you have to kind of scratch your head. I got out and the first thing my father said is get a job, start saving, own a home. No, I really don't want to do that. I want to go to the beach, Dad. No, you're going to work. And I worked all the way through high school, full time, and was proud to say, I've never rented, I've always owned a home. Subsequently to this is the change is they actually have more discretionary income to spend. They're not having to deal with maintenance. They're not having to deal with big bills and cutting grass. So they actually have a lot more money to spend. That's what's driving this evolution of this bucket called millennials. The oddity is that they are very urbanized. All right, they love that urban lifestyle. That's why you're seeing the explosion in downtown Baltimore, D.C. Last time I checked, there was over 30 cranes in D.C. It's unparalleled and unprecedented growth. That will evolve, and there will be a correction in the industry. How does that impact us here in the suburbs? Think about how you guys like to shop. On Saturday afternoons or Saturday mornings, you typically would go to the mall, you go to the grocery store. Well, what has evolved with all of us, we're humans by nature, is we love entertainment. We love experience, right? You can't get much of an experience going to an institutional grocery store, right? It's kind of plain, it's kind of ordinary. What's your peak of your experience? You bang carts with somebody, okay? Main Street America has got to get a handle on the entertainment value and the activity value. And one of the things that, and I want to say to the mayor and to the council, I was very blessed to come up here and be engaged to help. And I hope we have in the years that we've evolved our relationship with Nancy and with the council. And one of the first things I tell people here in any Main Street is activities, is events. the wine fest, the family get-togethers, the promotional type things, because Taneytown, like others throughout the region, struggle with a downtown district, right? One of the biggest struggles here in Taneytown and others that's consistent, you're not unique, is the high percentage of residential uses on Main Street. And that's going to take time to evolve and to change. It doesn't happen overnight. And we could have a 2-hour discussion about how to deal with that and how to deal with property owners on main streets throughout the region, because one of the biggest things, the challenges in main streets is the fact that many of these properties have no debt. They are second-generation ownership. It's been handed down. Very little debt. So there's literally lack of incentive, if you will, to make any change. The residential thing will take time. And one of the driving factors of what we're seeing is these events and activities. It's creating the brand. Think about who's the strongest brand that you could recognize right now? Coke. I have not heard that one in years. All right, but you're absolutely right. One of the biggest things here in Baltimore, Under Armour. Brand, everywhere, right? It's just plastered everywhere. There's something about, as a consumer, that you connect with a brand. Think about your own home. Think about your products that you buy, that you feel comfortable buying Nike golf shoes or, athletic wear, those kind of things. Brand, it's the same theory with Main Streets. And I was saying to Nancy is one of my little pet peeves, because I get exposed to a lot of things throughout the region, are those $4.95 red for rent signs that you can buy at Ace Hardware or Home Depot. I hate them. And I said to Nancy, I said, here's a creative thing to do, is in other markets that we've seen, is take the Taneytown Main Street brand, create some vinyl signs that you can erase the number off of, and give them to property owners to promote and create the brand. Little simple things like that. Sandwich boards. There's actually communities that don't allow sandwich boards out on Main Street. You got to just scratch your head at some of these things. One of the examples I gave to Nancy last night is there's a Main Street organization down south. They just passed an ordinance allowing outdoor seating. Last time I checked, it's 2018, folks, okay? Promoting the events, promoting the activities, and promoting the brand. I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of the small business side of things and the consumerism. So, this is where it gets a little sensitive. So for those of you in the room that own a business, hopefully I'm hitting a few things that are significant to you. One of the things that has happened in our industry in retail is there's been this disconnect of how we shop and how we as human beings like to be approached and how we like to be engaged in a retail store. Think about your last retail experience in a store. Clothing store, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. Fundamentally, and this is to you in the brewing business as well. And by the way, if I can help you out, one of my best friends, good friends, is Dave Benfield of Duke Law Brewing. So I've been with him for years. Talked him into the restaurant business, talked him out of the restaurant business, okay? Fundamentally, think about your last engagement. Did they use your name? Yes? No? Really? There's a few yeses. That's surprising. You got them on a good day, all right? True story. Walking into Main Streets, it's mind-boggling to me, all right, about the state of the commerce and Main Street retail have been disengaged. And I say this as an example. How many of you can picture walking into a service or a goods store on a main street and there's a cowbell on the door handle, right? Something triggers by sound to let them know someone walked into the store. That is what a lot of retailers, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of retailers have taken to in Main Street. That needs to evolve. And I talk a lot, I just did one in Berlin, Maryland back in May where we talked about how to improve customer service. Because customer service is how you spend more money, right? You can do it through brand, you can do it through environment, but you can do it through experience. And that's the biggest component to what I'm going to try and really exasperate here, is that experience. When you walk into a store, tell me how quickly you as a consumer make a decision if you're going to buy something. And then I'm going to tell you statistically what the industry is saying. What would you guess? How much time do you need in order to make a decision if you're going to buy something in the store? We are about to go shopping. Mayor's about to go to Kiowa Island. He's going to go take his wife down Main Street and do some shopping. How quickly is he going to make a decision when he walks in a store? 2 minutes? Who else? 30 seconds. Okay? Statistically speaking, we as consumers, 8 seconds. Okay? Something happens, metabolism, mind, or what have you. We've got 8 seconds to make a decision. The core of that is perception, right? Do I feel comfortable? Is it clean? Is it bright? But most importantly, was I engaged? As a retailer, you have, and this is true, nationally, regionally, locally, you have 8 seconds to make an impact on me as a consumer if I'm going to open up my wallet or not. It's shocking to me that a lot of the main streets, and we do this nationally as well for some of the national retailers, we watch their trends, is think about it. When you went to the mall, to a store, you're kind of on your own nowadays. The problem is the industry is combating itself, saying, I can't afford to have more people in the store, thus I'm not going to give you the experience, and I'm going to rely that you've done your shopping in advance, and you're coming to my store to simply buy the product that you've researched. We're all guilty of it, right? There's a few of you on your phones right now, hopefully checking your stocks, all right? Simply for the fact that you have researched. I mean, I've seen it in a store where we as consumers will be standing there looking at a product, and sure enough, you're researching it on Google and Amazon to see if you can buy it cheaper. It's right there in front of you. You're looking to see if you can buy it cheaper. And I watch business owners ignore them. And I have to just ponder, what are you thinking? Here is a consumer that's researching, and there's the product. And 9 out of 10 times, the business owners say, I'm not interested. I'm a little livid that they're in my store. Why are you even here then if you're going to buy it online? The 1 out of the 10 who evolves is going to be successful. And I tell the retail businesses, change the way you do business, because we as consumers are changing the way we shop. Adapt it. Here's the difference. Sir, again, your name? Sam. Good morning, Sam. So Sam walks into my store, and he's on his phone. He's researching a product. I got 8 seconds. First thing I'm going to do is walk up to him and say, hey, good morning. Thank you for visiting my store. My name's Tom. I'm the owner, and you are. And he's going to say, Sam. Hey, great, Sam. Feel free to walk around. Let me know if you have any questions. I haven't asked if you need any help. I haven't asked what you're here to buy. But I'm quickly remembering Sam. I've made an impression in less than 8 seconds. He's heard his name. 90% of the time that someone uses your name, you're going to feel obligated to buy something. True? Think about it. Think about it, right? When you're in a restaurant and you see the name tag, try this one time and watch their expression, particularly with this younger generation. They almost get flabbergasted that you're using their name. If Sam is my server and he walks over and says, hey, welcome to whatever bar and grill, very important fact for you, okay, is right away I say, hey, Sam, thanks for visiting. This is my family. We're here for dinner for the evening. Can we have some menus? Watch the reaction you get when you use their name. It's a name tag. It's there for a reason. Here's the cool thing. 70% of the servers in the restaurant industry say that when someone uses their name, they tend to give a much higher experience. Okay? You're not a number. You're not a credit card. You're a person. You're a human being. You're there with your family, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. You tend to get a better service. Try it. On the Main Street side of things is you got 8 seconds. This goes for the fact that I really want Main Street businesses to rebound and to grow, because what we have learned, as I said earlier on, is following 07 and 08, all of you are trying to look for reasons to shop locally and spend money locally. It feels good, right? It feels good to walk into a store, be embraced, get a box, walk out with a product, and not show up in a cardboard box on your porch. There are needs for both of this. Internet, digital, e-commerce shopping, but there's also a need for private fulfillment, personal fulfillment. Our industry is evolving, and we as consumers are evolving, but yet Main Street continues to be the way we used to do business, and that needs to change. Things such as, think about your own store of how you approach a consumer for a POS, a point of sale, okay? I walk into a store, or I'm in Sam's store. Sam sells some very rustic products, reclaimed woods. That's kind of the new trend nowadays. but yet his cash register is in the middle of the store around the corner. I can't even see him when I walk into the store. It's mind-boggling to me that there's not this embrace right away. And some people say, well, wait a minute, Tom, if I'm talking to Sam and you walk into my store, how do I engage you? I can't do both. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Find your A-plus personality, your attitude and your ego, and say, hey, Sam, thank you. I got another customer. I'm just going to go real quick and introduce myself. He feels good because he's getting the same attention. He's watching me do the same thing. It's a fundamental principle. We as humans love to be engaged. We love to talk. Believe me, you can tell, I love to talk. All right, I can do this all day. The reality is that until that happens, we are giving retailers, as consumers, justification to go shop online. Follow me? Do we all agree? Anybody disagree? Fundamentally, there's a few things we can't replace on e-commerce with Amazon and with other digital services. Can't get your hair cut, can't get your nails done, right? Can't go to the spa online. Some have tried. That entertainment experience, that valuation of, you can't go to a wine festival online. Yes, you can Skype it. You know, these younger generations, they have all that fancy technology. There are still things that can't be, are not replicable yet. That is where the value add as a consumer. I just heard the gentleman talk about a B&B that just opened. That's an amazing experience. I could go on for hours about the hotel and accommodations and that industry of how the Hilton brand and the Marriott brand are trying to duplicate what he's doing. Why? Because they recognize, we as consumers, we don't want an institutional room. Have you been in an extended stay concept lately? They're small apartments. They're quaint, they're bright, they're colorful. You know, they're all Bluetooth enabled. They're trying to duplicate what he's just spent, I'm assuming, a lot of money to develop that experience. Just example after example I can give to you about how the world is evolving. Main Street needs to adapt. Tell me a little bit about some of your experiences. What can I help you all with? Because one of the critical things is, I don't want to talk politics, although it is an election year and we all have our opinions. But if you want, I can elaborate a little bit some of the things that we're seeing that I actually proposed to the mayor and to the council here of evolving in the downtown districts in Main Street. So would that be okay? Talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the region. Things such as parking. Surprising to me is there are municipalities that continue to try and generate revenue by parking meters in downtown. Two sides of the story on this, okay? So let's be candid, all right? Let's not throw popcorn at one another. Friday nights and Saturdays, don't charge to park. Promote get them here. Bring them here as quickly as you can. Because the last time I checked, it's free to park in a mall. And that's what you're competing with, right? We have some challenges on cost and expenses in the industry. Anybody know who the second highest per kilowatt cost in the country is? Kilowatt, electric power. Anybody? Second highest. Maryland, behind California. Yep. Think about that, your electric bill, right? Those commodity charges, those expenses are impacting retailers today. Rising cost of insurance, rising cost of healthcare, operating expenses. It's costing more to get product via the highway or via rail or via the port. Those expenses come to you. Think about your average grocery bill. Is it cheaper? Barring the Groupons that are out there and the coupon clippers, the actual grocery bill has gone up almost 13% in the last 3 years. Cost of milk. Anybody watch the cost of a chicken wing? Right? Cost of corn went dramatically through the roof 3 years ago. Cost of wings goes up. But yet, Art, we still love them, right? In any event, the cost related to a retail business is accelerating. And that's impacting what we're seeing on Main Street as well. One of the biggest things about Main Street associations that I've seen in my experience is that many of the leadership, there's this little bit of a disengagement, and no disrespect by any means, is that many of the council people and the leadership in the townships are actually of an older demographic. And that's great. They're volunteering their time, and they mean well. But many of them, not all of them, are disengaged from what the consumer wants today. And they're creating policies that actually inadvertently demote what we're trying to achieve. Things such as signage policies, program policies, mandating hours of operation. Yeah, there are some municipalities out there that say if you own a retail business on Main Street, you have to be open from 10 to 9. That's just not feasible anymore. We need to adapt. Many things about parking, signage, health department approvals. What's the biggest ailment to you and to your business? Biggest ailment of anything? Time. It takes a lot of time to get these businesses open. I think Nancy mentioned the gentleman who did the B&B. How long was that, Nancy? Right. You know, he should be open and operational as quickly as possible. The game changer in the marketplace is when local municipal governments and leadership prioritize Main Street reinvestment, whether it's residential or commercial. They take the time to say that initiative moves to the top of the pile. And they dedicate someone from fire, someone from health, someone from services to say, your job as a city official is to make sure they move quickly. Not waste 9 months going through all the bureaucracy of all the various issues and code issues. Here's my plans, permit them, and I'll call you when I'm done. Don't delay me. Time is money. I say that because that's one of the biggest things that we see throughout the region is that there's still the old school way of doing business. And I often struggle at times, and I verbally say to elected officials, I hear you and I respect that. Time to change the way we do business. The governor has absolutely promoted Main Streets and small businesses and is doing his best. And if Governor Hogan was here, I'm certain he would say, you're absolutely right. He's trying to streamline the way the state does business. Well, let's get ahead of the curve. Let's bring it back home to Main Street and make sure that we're improving when people offer to write checks, buy property, reinvest in property, and modernize property. It should not take months upon months upon months, because that's dollars that's lost. All right? What else can we talk about? Please.
Commercial revitalization areas within the state. The biggest issue I run up against are parking ratios in buildings and areas that have been built with no parking in mind.
Great question. Kathy is commenting on the parking ratios that are in the various state and most importantly county, and now we've even got them down to a local level. With you. So what we're referring to is that if I buy a piece of property and I want to develop an apartment building or apartment structure, I've got to have 2 spaces per unit. Or if I develop a retail center, I got to have typically 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet. I'll use Main Street right here. Nancy and I were talking to a restaurateur years ago and the code requirements. Well, you know, last time I checked, it's Main Street. There is no opportunity to build a 3-level parking deck in order to comply with the parking code. I will say this, is that all those stories you hear about that in years we will not own cars, okay, we'll all be teleporting or something, that ain't happening anytime soon. Not in my lifetime, and maybe in his, right? So most importantly is that think outside the box. Here's a good example for you. The mayor of the city of Aberdeen, Patrick McGrady, recently proposed doing away with parking obligations in his downtown area and in his, the city of Aberdeen. I thought that was, one, I was taken back that he was willing to do it publicly. He's an incredible young man trying to make change for his community. But if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. One of the fundamental things that's happened in the commercial real estate is that we have policies and procedures and zoning codes that try to dictate market. No, that way of businesses should be absolutely canned, buried, burned, whatever. Because we are evolving so quickly as a market. Let the market tell you what the property wants to be. Let the market dictate what parking should be. Now, the reality is if you're going to build an apartment building, the developer needs to have some level of parking. But by way of example is, last time I checked, a 1-bedroom apartment with 1 bath doesn't need 2 cars. It's typically a young millennial with 1 car. Nowadays, it's 1 bicycle, right? But the impact of having that ratio requirement increases the land size that they need, and thus the cost, and sometimes it makes it not financially feasible to do the project because of the code requirements. Let the market dictate zoning. Let the market dictate highest and best use. Because if someone is willing to take that gamble, trust me, they've done their due diligence. They're not making $1 million investment on a whim. They've done their homework. They've done their research. Let them tell you what they need for parking. And most importantly is the synergy starts to happen because now you've got multiple projects. I hope I answered that one because that is all. If there's one fundamental thing, it's about let the market tell you what highest and best use should be and how it should be developed.
Counties said they want to revitalize areas, but they're putting roadblocks up against that.
Yeah.
Which delays it for them. The business people say, I'm out of here. It's going to take
It's
6 months.
absolutely. It's time. It's time. I mean, we have certain development projects that have taken upwards. We've had the pleasure, two of my colleagues have represented Starbucks in the past few years throughout the Baltimore, Washington region. And there are projects that are now just getting out of the ground 2 years in the making. 2 years. They're arguing over access cuts off a state highway, water and sewer connections, tap fees, big issue there. That just still boggles my mind. How many trees? Are you a tree hugger? It's actually a good thing, believe it or not. Like the shade, right. So lastly, I want to talk about real quick the technology from the consumer side, consumerism, for those of you who own businesses. And this goes to everything from just a retail or service business like insurance or financial management. The technology out there is one of the things that we did for Taneytown is we identified a trade area. And I said this to Nancy and to Sandy last night, is we no longer use radius demographics. Everyone's familiar with that term, demographics. We actually use tapestry segmentation. This is where, and I'm looking at Mary because I'm sure she's done this based on the colors red and blue throughout the state and throughout the region. There is technology out there that I could tell you how you shop, how you spend your money, college educated, what your habits are, how frequently you will visit a Starbucks. There's technology that Starbucks uses. They know that on a particular corner location, they know how many women between the ages of 23 and 35 will come 3.2 times and spend on average $8.90 a cup of coffee. Think about that. Every time you use your credit card at Wawa, Royal Farms, or Sheetz, it's recording your transaction. Not your amount, how many gallons, the time of day, and they're also recording the simultaneous purchase. Because remember, you put your card in the actual pump, and then you go into the store. They know a percentage of how many of us walk from the pump to go to the store and buy, a bottle of water, sandwich, etc. Right? Hoagie Fest and Chicken Palooza, whatever's going on nowadays. They know that, and they're watching that number, and they use that information, the time that it takes for you to walk from your car to the store and back, and how much frequency you buy in the store. And they're adjusting every hour, every day, how they handle customer service. They want as much money as they can get from you. So think about that. Every time you use your credit card, you put it in that little machine. Someone's recording not just what you're buying, how you bought it, time of day, and all that information is available to us as an industry. It's all out there. That's what I've tried to promote in some of these Main Street businesses as a way of engaging them to change the way they do business. Because ultimately, and I'm going to leave you with this, the stars have aligned for downtown districts. We as consumers no longer, many of us, are looking for opportunities to get out of the mall, get off of the phone, and be engaged at a local level. We have more independent wealth or personal wealth. Many of us are empty nesters. Kids are off to college, other than our tuition bills that come in every September. We have more money to spend. It's now about spending us, on me. And then we have this millennial crowd, right, that is starting to shift locally, less digital, less e-commerce. And then lastly is the financial world, borrowing rates. The stars have aligned for downtown districts to make an impact and to evolve into something that we all remember back in the 30s and 40s when we all got dressed, not all of us, and we went shopping for downtown for a Saturday afternoon. We actually got dressed up to do it, right? So I would ask you and I would implore you to be positive, glass half full, challenge your own thinking as a consumer, challenge the businesses. Hopefully you remember one little thing that I've talked about this morning is the fact of use your name. Use the person's name and watch the change that's happened. Support local businesses, support the county, shop locally, spend locally, and engage, volunteer, be engaged to make change. And come back and go bowling on Friday nights. Because this is incredible. I really enjoy it. All right, questions? Floral Fets.
Laura, that's conversation topic.
All right.
I walked into her store and I was just like, and you can say that, you know it too. I was shocked. It's beautiful. It's just open and you just want to walk in and you have to walk in and look. Was I there 8 seconds? Was I there 8 seconds? I was there a lot longer because I enjoyed the store. So you guys walk into this lady's shop and get the idea what to do. I think
Well, that's a nice little plug for flowers here in Taneytown. All right, any other questions, thoughts, comments? Please, Mary.
Question for the main streets here, like in Taneytown or Berlin or Bel Air. Is there a market to get people? I live in the city. To get people from the city, it's $2 an hour to park in the city. So if you go down the city for dinner, you're making up $6 before you even buy anything. But is there a market for these main streets to pull people out because parking is easier and because it's offers something that the city has to the city? So is it something for the main streets here to pull from the city?
There's always opportunities, Mary, to draw the population out of the city for an afternoon and go shopping out in the suburbs, and that's happening quite candidly for a variety of reasons. But most of the main streets have gotten a hold of this and started marketing in the Baltimore Magazine and the Baltimore City paper and a variety of other social media sources about, come shop out in Carroll County for the day. The challenge is that you've got to give them a reason to do the full day event. All right, they're not going to come to Taneytown for an hour. They need to come to Westminster. They need to go to Taneytown on their way to Gettysburg for the day. And there's a way of kind of marketing that. It has started over the last 1.5 to 2 years. And I believe many of the apartment owners are starting to embrace that in their concierge department by the flyers and the marketing pieces that you see when you walk in. So it's starting. It's just that's a hard initiative. We'll see where it goes. But there's an untapped population down there with a lot of affluence and a lot of wealth that's willing to spend it out in the suburbs. So, all right, I'm going to stop talking. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend.